Intel is planning for long-term success here. I am so excited about everything that Pat Gelsinger is announcing for the company. I think the stock has actually slipped a little bit since after this announcement because investors don't care about the long term, but this is the kind of long-term thinking that we need. So some of it seems a little optimistic, starting with that Intel will be returning to the tick-tock product development cycle that was their bread and butter back in the day. So a tick, man, I can't remember which one is which. Doesn't matter. But a tick and a tock are basically a process node advancement.
I'm pretty sure a tick is a new process node advancement.
New process? Okay. And then a tock then would be an architecture change. And the reason that you tick and then you tock is that if you try to do both at the same time, then you just dance. Okay, sorry. It's that if you try to do both at the same time, it's extremely risky. Every time you shrink your transistors, shrink your lithography, every time you shrink the CPU, what you risk is like, oh no, there's like an electron migration, quantum tunneling crap that we didn't see coming from our previous nonsense. We got to solve all these problems now. Oh no, and every time you change your architecture, of course, you're reconfiguring the way that your entire CPU works. Of course, there's a lot of problems that you're going to need to solve. So the idea behind tick-tock is that you are only tackling one set of those problems at a time, and it gives you smaller gains overall with your new CPU, but it gives you hopefully a predictable amount of hassle with each new refresh.
So just to be super clear, a tick is a new fabrication process and a tock is a new microarchitecture, as I believe we just said. I just verified it to make sure.
Yep, looks like we've got it right here. So I think it's pretty optimistic. With that said, I mean, you know what? I say, hey, I don't know if you guys are going to pull this off, but the reality of it is, like, TSMC has been rolling new process nodes just about on a yearly basis, while Intel has been absolutely stuck. I mean, no matter, even if they don't quite manage like a yearly tick-tock cadence, it's got to be better than what they're doing now, because like we're currently on this cycle, okay? So remember, a tick is process and a tock is architecture. So 5th gen Broadwell was process, all right, on 14 nanometer. Then we had 6th gen Skylake, that was a new architecture. Then we had 7th gen Kaby Lake, which was optimization. 8th gen Coffee Lake, which was more optimization. We had 9th gen, also Coffee Lake, that was a refresh. 10th gen Comet Lake, that was optimization. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They shouldn't be allowed to call those 5 generations of CPU. Like, what does a generation even mean anymore? And then finally, with 11th gen Rocket Lake, although we are still stuck on 14 nanometer, we finally got a new architecture and we got some real performance gains out of Rocket Lake. Now, it has problems. It runs hot, but...
yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But you know what, Luke? Okay? You can't ride a rocket without getting a little close to the sun. Closer to the sun. The atmosphere doesn't block the rays. It gets hot.
What if you went the other way?
You'd eventually reach another sun.
Okay.
Yes.
Not really.
Success.
Okay.
I win. On top of this commitment to go back to tick-tock, Mr. Gelsinger announced that Intel will be investing $20 billion, that is with a B, in 2 new chip-making plants to be added to its Arizona campus. So we are expecting from these over 3,000 permanent, high-tech, high-wage jobs, over 3,000 construction jobs, and approximately 15,000 local long-term jobs. That is freaking awesome. Mind you, until the new fabs come online, Intel will
Fabs take a long time.
Yeah, it'll be a
long time to build properly. They take a long time to vet. Like it's going to be a while.
It'll be a spicy minute. So they'll be using third-party fabs more openly starting in 2023. With that said, my understanding from what TSMC has said publicly about Intel's commitment to use third-party fabs is you'd be our lowest priority, thanks. Not only because you have your own fabs that you mostly use, therefore you're not really a strategic partner, but because you also, at the same time as announcing that you're going to use our fabs somehow magically, are announcing that you are going to become a competitor because Intel will apparently be building up this new capacity and then be offering their own fabrication services to the same customers that might otherwise go to TSMC or to Samsung. So, yeah. In other news, though, Intel's own 7nm process efforts are apparently progressing well, which these new fabs should help with once they are ready. And it should be noted that Intel's 7nm is not the same as TSMC's 7nm, which is actually closer to Intel's delay-plagued 10nm. We did a whole tech quickie on this, and it was shocking how many people were super mad about facts in that video and how many people have sort of fallen for the branding that other fabs have used around their manufacturing processes. Intel is behind. Their 10nm has been too late, and normally we're in a position of being ahead of everyone else. So what you're looking at right now is actually branding of a technologically not really the apples to apples manufacturing process. So when you take someone else's 7nm and Intel's 7nm, the actual transistor density is probably not as good, whether it's TSMC or Samsung. Now, that's the conventional wisdom, of course. We're going to have to see how much Intel manages to shrink their 10nm transistors when they move to 7nm. I don't think that they've talked about it publicly yet at all, but we'll keep an eye on that, and hopefully things will go freaking awesome because, guys, whether it's AMD who's behind or Intel who's behind, we should always be rooting for the underdog to catch up because that'll put pressure on the leader, and I am freaking jazzed to see an Intel that is like for serious, actually for realsies, investing in building better processors.
The Discord topic was probably a lot more eye-grabby, and that's the reason why it got the title and whatnot. This topic is very deeply exciting, though.
Yeah.
This is good. We've seen Intel sit on their laurels for a long time, and we've been complaining about it for a long time. So it's probably the right thing for us to do to give them props for not sitting on their laurels. And this seems like that, so I am stoked. This is fantastic. Very cool. It's not just cool because, like, oh, goodness, we might actually have Intel processors that people want to buy, so they might actually move, which is a good thing. But also, I mean, if you want to look at it at a completely non-tech standpoint, 15,000 local long-term jobs. That alone, pretty cool.
Yep.
Right? Like, sounds good. Intel building fabs in the States. Cool.